Church, I've come to Olajuwon's defense a lot lately, and it's because I do see good in him. However, after this episode, I have to call it, because right is right and wrong is wrong. And Olajuwon's mind games are clearly and presently dredging up trauma from Katina's past relationships, in effect, re-traumatizing her. I've got my notes, I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this damn mess. All right, y'all, so let's jump right on into our hot topic. So the women and men had their respective event, which I always love. It's just a way for them to all share commonalities, differences in their marriages, and find nuggets with which that they can apply to their own relationships. It's something about that group sharing experience that just lets you gain perspectives that you may have not had in your own relationship. And maybe y'all are not as bad as you thought you were based on where someone else is, or, maybe there's something else that you can work on based on what they said, right? It's not all lost. It's not all bad. So I always like the couples events, provided that there's no drama going down. Now, moving on to the women's event, I really want to say good job to Lindsey and Katina, okay? Because listen, you can't tear somebody down when they do wrong and not build them back up when they do right, okay? And I thought that Lindsey and Katina did a great job of going along to get along and moving on past the trauma that they each put each other through respectively, right? Lindsey was not 100% of her personality. She was a smooth 50 to 55%, and she didn't have her normal takeover spirit, okay? She went with the flow of the group, which is why, I really think that Lindsey does have potential because she knows how to act in certain situations. It's just that you have to unlearn bad behavior and it takes time, right? And the big question is whether or not she can unlearn all her bad behavior or just start that process within the 8-week time frame. Now on to Katina. Really, really proud of her for putting her feelings aside and actually being able to have meaningful exchanges with Lindsey, right? That weren't mired in hate or waiting for her to pop off or not liking her or this, that, and the third. So it really embodied the spirit of what Olajuwon said, where you have to get over certain things because if not, you're just going to be sitting on ready for anything this lady says. And I think since both of them were on the same mindset in terms of we're going to make this a positive experience, that's why it was one. So kudos, ladies. Now on to Noi. I did want to talk about a quote that she gave that I really found very poignant. She said, when you marry somebody, you marry their trauma, their inner child, and their belief system. And I thought that that was a very beautiful quote and a great launching point with which to frame our conversation today, right? It's so true, especially when you marry somebody at first sight. You're marrying their trauma. You don't know what they went through in the past. You're marrying their inner child because you don't know what part of their childhood drives their behavior in the present. And you're marrying their belief system because you would hope that, this person is on the same plane as you as far as life, career, religious beliefs, but you're trying to figure that out as you go along. So I thought it was a really, really telling quote, and one that I'm going to place in the back of my head for use later. Now on to the men's event. I was really struck by how troubled Olajuwon seemed. And I guess I didn't realize the severity of what he was going through mentally as it relates to Katina and the relationship, right? And the way I want to frame this is I couldn't figure out whether his problem with Katina was because he wants her to be Susie homemaker or whether or not it was because she wasn't vulnerable enough. And I think that's a good launching point for us to start. So let's jump right on into our couple updates, starting first with Katina and Olajuwon. Let's talk about the cleanup incident and the effort conversation. So apparently after the, couple's housewarming event, Olajuwon said something to the effect of, let's clean up the apartment. Katina said something to the effect of, I only want to clean half the floor. And she was hemming and hawing about, I guess cleaning up and blah, blah, blah. Olajuwon got fed up and he pretty much just said, you go off to bed, I'll figure it out. And he proceeded to clean the apartment and straighten up after the event and whatnot. So my first thinking here, y'all, is I hate when people tell you to do something, but then hold it against you in the past because it's not exactly what they wanted from you, right? Do not tell me to go to sleep, everything is fine, I'm going to figure it out, but you're really, stuck with all this stress, struggles, and strife in your chest because that's not really what you wanted. I'm all about people speaking their truth. Say what you say, mean what you say, and walk in your truth. You have to do those three things. Otherwise, it just leads to problems further on down the road. So, and furthermore, y'all, what I really want to ask here is it's okay to want, to want your house to be clean before you go to sleep, right? I'm not judging anybody, okay? Do I clean up every single night? Maybe not, but I will clean up the next morning, right? But if Olajuwon has not relayed that this is something that he prides himself on, something that is a non-negotiable for him, then to me, he can't really expect that Katina will just acquiesce to it without really knowing what the case is, right? So it really goes back to telling people what you want them to know and not trying to assume that they're just going to figure it out through osmosis of the universe or just doing these weird tests to try to bring it out of someone. Tell me what you want me to know and allow me the chance to rise to the occasion, right? Now on to the effort conversation, which seems to be, his main gripe in the whole situation. So I understand what Olajuwon is talking about if we break it down into small chunks, okay? And I understand the effort conversation. Once you add in all his other stuff to it, the waters get a little bit murky, but just in terms of effort, I understand it, right? Olajuwon is saying, I understand that you're not a cooking person. I understand that you're not a cleaning person. But to me, the effort that you show means a lot, right? You have to be able to say, this is my husband, this is something that's important to him, and I'm at least going to allow myself to approach the situation differently than I would in the past because this is a marriage and I value his opinion and I value him as a person and what he wants out of life, right? So it's not saying that you need to clean up my whole house, you need to cook all my meals. It's saying that I want to see some level of effort, that you care and that you're moving in that direction, right? And on the Katina side, think about it, y'all. How can you be in a relationship and say, this is me, this is who I am, I'm not changing, and move on from there? Like, that's a selfish standpoint to take, right? So I'm not telling Katina to do what this man says and to be all that he wants you to be, but you can show a bit of effort if you care, right? And I think the main thing that Olajuwon is saying is he wants the effort to be shown without him having to initiate it first, right? I don't have a problem with that, right? Katina can show her love for him, right? And that she wants to be a worthwhile partner, a worthwhile wife in the situation by showing that, no, I'm not Susie Homemaker. No, I'm not going to cook for you every day. No, I'm not going to clean for you every day. But certain times, if the spirit strikes me, I can do it without being prompted to. So it's all just a matter of taking initiative, right? And I really don't think in my heart of hearts that he just wants her to be this cooking, cleaning aficionado, whatever, but he just wants to know that there's a glimmer of hope that we're moving in the right direction for how I see my life set up, right? Is it a selfish mindset? Slightly, but I can understand it when you break it down into small chunks. When it comes into a bigger chunk, it gets a little bit murky. Now, moving forward to Katina doesn't cry. Y'all, if we don't heal our past traumas, they have a way of finding themselves in our present situation. And I say that to say this. Katina said she was in a verbally abusive relationship where a man was accosting her all the time. She always felt downtrodden and she would cry as a result of it, okay? And the minute that she cried, it was thrown back up in her face as she's weak, as she's less than, why are you crying, XYZ? And she made a decision in that moment that crying is synonymous with weakness, right? And I refuse to be weak. I'm going to emancipate myself from this situation, and going forward, no one is going to see me cry. No one is going to see me sweat because I am not weak, and that is a sign of weakness. So our past traumas, if we do not heal them, they can find their way into our present situations, right? So Katina is not going to cry at the wedding. Katina is not going to cry on the honeymoon. Katina is not going to cry when things go on between you two. So To a person on the outside looking in, it may seem that you have up this hard exterior and that you're not being vulnerable, right? But in reality, I'm dealing with past trauma and I'm letting that inform how I see my present. Now, going along in that, okay, you can't break someone's walls down if they don't feel safe. And I really do not believe that Olajuwon is creating an environment for Katina to feel safe and break those walls down. Listen, Mary J. Blige said, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna shed no tear. No, I'm not gonna cry. It's not the time, because you're not worth my tears, okay? So listen, Olajuwon, you need to be worth her tears. You need to make her feel safe so that that wall comes down. And to me, once that wall comes down, everything else will solve itself in time, right? But you have to create an environment where she feels safe. And I don't think that you're doing that right now. Now, on to the topic of whether we're in love and the love conversation. It was a swift no for him and also a no for her. What I didn't like about that conversation, y'all, is that his no was a very definitive no, right? And I say that to say this. He said, love is not even on the table right now. And that to me is a problematic statement, right? I understand that love is not directly in front of your face. Love may not be on your actual plate, but maybe it's at the end of the damn table, okay? And that's okay too, you know, for it not to be directly in your face, but for it to not even be on the table. It sort of creates this notion that she's always trying to seek his approval in order to get on his good side, which is a very dangerous precedent to set in a relationship, y'all. It's just a notion of her seeking his approval to get him to love. And to me, it's one-sided, right? Like I said before, I don't have a problem with his effort conversation and with what he's trying to bring out of her, in a sense, if you break it down into small pieces. But what I have a problem with is that there's no introspection with all of this delegation that you're giving out, you know? It's not, I require these things from you. I would like you to rise to the occasion on X, Y, and Z, and I know I'm lacking. Can you tell me what I'm lacking, right? What am I not doing for you that would make you feel more comfortable to give me what I need in this relationship, right? It's a level of introspection that I don't think that he has, and I don't think that he's delivering right now. And furthermore, I'm not going to put the entirety of the blame on him, y'all, because he has said from the beginning through his weird mind tricks, okay, that he was trying to bring out her more assertive side. Katina, I have implored you from the beginning, do not just go along to get along with this man. You can do things for him because you love him. You can do them for him because, you know, he's your husband and you want to make him happy, but you can't diminish yourself to the point where you're always just in this place of lacking and you're trying to make him happy while your spirit is being diminished. It's very problematic. Now, moving forward to whether or not I'm hopeful or not hopeful with these couples as they go into, you know, the first month together, or the first month anniversary. Y'all, I'm really not hopeful for them because of this whole cooking class downfall, and I want to analyze it real quick. What I like about Olajuwon is that though he has requirements sometimes, he will try to help you along the way, right? Like, you can't want something from someone and not give them a roadmap of how to get there, right? I'm not trying to make you complete Susie Homemaker. I'm not saying you have to cook and clean every day, but I want to create the environment where you feel comfortable doing so if that's something you should choose to do as my wife, as someone that cares about me, as someone who knows that this is something that is important to me, right? So he takes her to this cooking class and they teach her how to make, you know, the shrimp and the salmon and you know, this, that, and the third. And it seems like it's going well. And then it goes off the rails, right? He starts talking about that, you know, he's trying to get her to this certain wife level, right? And he doesn't know if she can meet his expectations, right? And to me, honestly, if you were in a situation as Katina where you were verbally assaulted beforehand, meant to feel less than, you don't cry because it's synonymous with weakness in your mind, and you emancipate yourself from that situation. You see, life is cyclical sometimes. If we don't heal past traumas, they find a way of coming back tenfold, right? And I'm not saying that this is a verbal assault of her or this is as traumatic as her last relationship. I'm just saying ain't it funny how life goes sometimes? You emancipate yourself from one situation and you find another version of it in another, right? And so it's this notion of these mental abuse mind games. You need to come up to this wife level. I see you here, but I don't have any introspection for myself. It's a very one-sided relationship. And it pissed me off, right? To see her there so broken, crying, wanting to take a break, and him just continuing to spread these messages of, you need to try to meet my expectations, okay? You are not my father. You are not my principal. This relationship is not a report card, okay, that you're going to give me from time to time to tell me how I'm doing or whatever, how I'm meeting your expectations with the rubric that you set out. It's very unfair and it's very one-sided and it's very wrong, okay? Mental abuse, mind games have no place in a relationship. And I just hope that Katina doesn't allow her past trauma to keep letting her diminish herself and not stand up for herself, okay? There is nothing wrong with not being Susie Homemaker. There is nothing wrong with not being the best cook or the best cleaner and being a modern woman and using Uber and DoorDash and all these different eating platforms and going from there and living your life the best way you know how, okay? But if you want to enact change in a person, you have to create an environment in which I feel safe to do it. And like I said before, Olajuwon is not doing it. It can't be one-sided. Fair exchange ain't no robbery. Just like you have things that she's not doing for you, she has things that she feels that you're not doing for her. And I really implore her to speak up, because if you don't speak up now, Katina, how you start the race is how you end it. And you're just going to keep letting him beat you down until the point where you either blow up, go off the rails, or something bad happens. So, you know, I hope it gets better, but Katina, you're really going to have to stand up for yourself, because if not, this man is going to run all over you. Now, moving on to Lindsey and Mark and their awkward exchange. Y'all, it had to happen, okay? When you have a blow up with somebody, it's not always kumbaya. It's not always nice, pretty, and wrapped up with a bow, okay? You're going to have that awkward exchange to try to find a way to move forward with each other, and that's what we saw there, okay? All the scratching on the plates, you know, the one-word answers, the lack of trying to work things out, trying to be passive-aggressive, XYZ, it all goes along with the territory. Is it right? No. Is it human? Absolutely, right? When you feel hurt, you retract, okay? And that's clearly what Lindsey is doing. Now, the problem that I have with the situation, though, is it leads to a lack of self-awareness, right? Because you have publicly blasted this man's manhood, his finances, and his mama on national TV, right? But nowhere in it was what she did, right? It's all about what you've done to me. You're not who I thought you would be. You're not taking up for me. You're not who I thought you would be to me, right? It's very I. It's very me. And it's like the swing of a pendulum, okay? It's either she's 100% or she's absolutely nothing, okay? And I think that she said that before, and that's what we're seeing, the clear and present representation of that. Now, the other problem that I have in the situation, y'all, is the whole notion of doing something nice and throwing it back in my face, okay? All throughout their exchange, she was saying what she's done for him and how she's pulling it back, and she saw he was lacking and she wanted to help and she wanted to be there for him, and that's why she did all of these things. Not a problem with that, okay? My problem is when people do something seemingly out of the kindness of their heart and then want to throw it back in your face on Mad Day if they don't feel appreciated. No one told you to do XYZ, okay? So do not do something nice, you know, purport it to be out of the kindness of your heart, and then when you feel a certain way, you want to throw it back on me on Mad Day, okay? To me, it seems disingenuous, because were you truly doing it out of the kindness of your heart, or are you doing it with the intention of, I'm going to be appreciated in the future, and if not, I'm going to hold this in the back of my head so that I can throw this dagger at him later, okay? It's almost like that notion of when you lend people money, never lend people money that you can't afford to think of as a gift, right? Because you might not get it back. It's the same notion there. Now, moving forward to the whole love conversation. And whether or not we're in love and whatnot. So it's a no for him and a no for her. And there's no real surprise there, y'all. It's a no for her because she does not feel safe. She does not feel protected. She does not feel that he's appreciating all the things that she has done for him in her mind, right? And on his side, he can't feel that loving feeling because you're never the same 2 moments in a row. If I try to check you, you fly off the handle, and there's no way to reel you back in without you flying even further off the handle after that. So how can you develop love in a situation where you do not feel safe? Okay. Vulnerability means that I have to feel safe with you. It means that I have to feel comfortable with you, and neither of them feel comfortable or vulnerable enough with each other. So there can be no love in that situation, at least for right now. But as far as being hopeful as they go into their 1-month anniversary next week, y'all, I really did like the fact that they tried to move forward as far as, him creating the sushi event for her and apologizing, and also the amusement park type activities that they did. I thought that that was really, really great. You have to move forward some way. And I think the best way for them to move forward is just taking it one day at a time, right? Does it fix all the issues immediately? No, but perhaps by taking it one day at a time and trying to find a way to hold on to the things that we like about each other, perhaps the things that blow up between us won't be as, huge if we still have that basis of, I actually like this person, so I'm willing to work through anything that we go through, right? So I thought that was good. And in terms of Mark apologizing to Lindsey, listen, I said it in the last video, you can be right or you can be married, okay? And so he chose to be married in that instance and tell her what she needed to hear. Was part of it truthful? Absolutely. Was part of it just to go along to get along? Absolutely. Now moving forward to Jasmina and Michael. And let's talk about their ever-present communication struggles. Y'all, the problem that I keep having with Jasmina and Michael is that it's like a record that's skipping, right? We can't get to the second song on the track because we can't even get past the first one, right? We're stuck at this little skipping stage. Now, when they were in the park, if you cannot have a constructive, nice, lighthearted conversation in an environment that's primed for you to have that conversation in terms of this little park picnic, he bought all this stuff for your dogs, XYZ, you should be in this loving feeling. Instead, you seem to be on the attack, Jasmina, and I'm going to put the burden on her for this reason, okay? Honestly, y'all, in their exchange, I actually found the way she was speaking to be more disrespectful than the way he was speaking. I understand he was getting irritated, but his voice never really rose. He never had that sort of twang in his voice that she had in hers in terms of the accusatory nature and, you're not going to talk to me, XYZ. It just seemed very one-sided in that situation, and the burden of it to me was coming from Jasmina. Furthermore, if the man is clearly saying, I understand that we have a communication problem. I understand that I may not be the best communicator and I'm trying to do better on that, but I need you to teach me how to treat you. And the minute he asks you for help, you shut him completely down and you say, you should already know how to communicate. That's not helpful. In every relationship, and I've said this 1,000 times, we teach people how to treat us, and he's trying to learn how to treat you, and you shut him down at every junction, okay? And that is a problem, and you can't move forward until you solve whatever wall you have up that's allowing you to keep putting him in this place and not letting him grow forward with you, right? Now, moving forward to the love conversation, it was a no for him and no for her. That wasn't a surprise, y'all. As I've said before, if you don't have, you can't have vulnerability if you don't feel comfortable with someone, if you don't feel safe, and neither of them feel safe with each other. However, what I really did like in terms of my hopeful standpoint as they go into their 1-month anniversary was the whole Jasmina's gym exercise. I thought that was really nice that she found something that means a lot to him in terms of him being a personal trainer and loving to work out. And she flipped it and made it a way for them to try to grow together and learn more about each other. And it allowed him to be vulnerable and open up. Now, I'm glad he took a page out of, Michael took a page out of Steve's book in terms of when they were at that the men's event, where he was talking about how showing my vulnerable side to Noi helped her realize how important this issue was to me at the time, right? So I really feel that those individual events help people to find commonalities and nuggets that they can take in their relationships and apply them to different situations, right? So he said, listen, this is not working what I'm doing. Let me try a different approach. Perhaps if I show my more vulnerable side, I'll find some commonality with her that'll start chipping away at this wall that she has built up, and perhaps we can move forward to the second track on the CD, okay? And I really feel that some progress was made there, and I'm very hopeful for them as they go into, their 1 month anniversary. You have to start chipping away at the walls that you've built up, or else there's no way to let anybody in. And until they solve this communication issue, they won't be able to move forward because all of their other issues branch off from there. Now on to Steve and Noi, y'all. Let's talk about Noi rushing Steve to love, and she's confused on his reluctance. Noi, I think this is maybe the first time that I've talked to you about self-awareness, or maybe I touched on it last week, but baby, either they're shooting these episodes out of sequence, or Noi is just completely self-unaware. But girl, if last week you grabbing your dog, your bag, and leaving with no mention of where you're going, when you're coming back, you getting on social media and you blasting this man and he doesn't even know what the damn problem is, how can you in the next week start talking about, I don't know why it's so hard for him to say he loves me? Girl, if you don't go sit your ass down somewhere, okay, and reflect on what you did to that man to hurt him to the point where he is having trouble deciding whether or not he loves you or not, like, it's lack of self-awareness, okay? You can't do wrong to somebody and then tell them how mad to get, okay? And in this case, you can't do wrong to somebody and then come back next week and wonder why they don't love you with all their heart, their soul, and their being, okay, Noi? Do better. But listen, the situation did end well because in their love convo, they realized that it was a yes for her, which we already knew, and a yes for him, right? Because she created the environment where he could feel safe enough to display that feeling and give that affection back to her, right? You cannot be vulnerable if you do not feel comfortable and safe with a person. And Noi did the work in terms of her scavenger hunt, in terms of her telling him how much he means to her. It created and fostered an environment where he was comfortable enough to say, I love this person because she cares and she's trying to work through our issues. So good for them. And y'all, I really think that's all I really wanted to say on this episode. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. So as long as you still care, there is still hope. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.